Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something you might not expect. Copper imports.
That's right, copper. Seems mundane, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. But a White House proclamation from President Donald J. Trump, dated July 30th, 2025, actually paints a picture of a hidden threat to U.S. national security.
It really does.
So our mission today is to sort of connect the dots for you between this everyday metal global trade dynamics and, the strength of our defense industrial base. There are some genuinely surprising things in here.
It's a really interesting document, and it mostly stems from a report the Secretary of Commerce put out just before, on June 30th, 2025.
Okay.
And the main finding was pretty blunt. Copper imports, as they stand, threaten to impair U.S. national security.
Impair national security? That sounds serious. How does copper, specifically the import of copper, do that? Is it just about having enough for tanks and planes?
Well, it's broader than that, though that's part of it. The report argues that the current flood of imports, combined with just too much global production capacity, is weakening our economy.
Weakening how?
By making it really tough for U.S. copper producers to stay afloat. There's a real risk, the report says, that domestic facilities could close.
Oh, okay. So if our own production shrinks.
Exactly. Then our ability to meet our own national security needs diminishes. We become too reliant.
So it's the dependency that's the threat.
Precisely. Copper is fundamental. You need it for manufacturing, obviously, but also for national and economic security. The report actually calls it the second most widely used material by the Department of Defense.
Wait a second. Ahead of things like aluminum.
Apparently so.
Yeah?
Think about aircraft, ground vehicles, ships, submarines, missiles, ammunition. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And then there's critical infrastructure. Its electrical conductivity and durability are exceptional, you see. For certain things, there just aren't good alternatives.
Okay, so relying on imports for something that critical, that leaves us vulnerable.
Absolutely. Vulnerable to supply chain disruptions, economic shocks, anything that might cut off that supply. It jeopardizes the whole defense industrial base.
This feels like a big shift. Wasn't the U.S. a major copper producer historically?
Oh, absolutely. For most of the 20th century, we led the world, mining, refining, making finished goods. But that's changed dramatically. Well, get this. The report points out that a single foreign country now dominates global copper smelting and refining.
A single country.
Yeah, controlling over 50% of global smelting capacity. And they have 4 of the top 5 biggest refining facilities in the world.
Wow. How did one country gain that much control? And, I guess, how did the U.S. lose its footing?
The Secretary's report suggests it's kind of a pincer movement. On one side, you have what it calls unfair trade practices abroad, things like state subsidies, deliberate overproduction that keeps prices artificially low.
Making it hard for U.S. companies to compete fairly.
Right. And then on the other side, the report also mentions overly burdensome environmental regulations here at home, making it harder or more expensive to refine and smelt domestically.
So squeeze from both sides.
Exactly. And the result, our domestic refining and smelting got hollowed out. Now we rely heavily on imports, especially of what the proclamation calls semi-finished copper products and intensive copper derivative products.
Can you break those down? What are semi-finished and derivative products, not just raw copper ore?
Right. Think copper wire, tubes, sheets, maybe specific components, stuff that's already been processed to some extent, ready or almost ready to be used in manufacturing things like electronics or, defense equipment.
Gotcha. Okay, so facing this situation, what did the president's proclamation actually do? What's the action?
The immediate action, effective August 1st, 2025, was a 50% 50 tariff on imports of all those semi-finished and intensive derivative copper products.
50%. That's a steep tariff.
It is. And the Commerce Secretary's report also floated the idea of future tariffs on refined copper itself, maybe 15% in 2027, potentially 30% in 2028, but that's subject to review.
Are there other pieces to this besides the tariffs?
Yes, a few other things. It sets up a way to potentially add more derivative copper items to the list later. It also tightens up the rules for declaring the copper content in imported goods. And, interestingly, it introduces requirements for domestic sales, like producers might need to sell a certain percentage, say 25% by 2027, of their copper input materials or high-quality scrap domestically.
Oh, so trying to keep more of circulating within the U.S.
Seems to be the idea. Plus, there are new export controls specifically for high-quality copper scrap.
Okay, so the big picture goal here is pretty clear then. boost U.S. production back up.
Absolutely. Reduce that foreign reliance we talked about, make sure we have enough copper for our own infrastructure and defense needs, and hopefully spur investment, jobs, and innovation in the U.S. copper sector.
Makes sense.
And one other small note, the proclamation mentions coordinating with the United Kingdom on this, referencing an economic prosperity deal from back in May 2025.
Interesting. International cooperation angle, too.
Yeah. So I think what this really shows us, stepping back, is how something like trade policy, which can seem abstract, directly connects to very real national security concerns, sometimes in ways you wouldn't expect, like with copper.
Right.
It really makes you think about those broader questions, doesn't it? Like, how do these kinds of targeted trade actions ripple through global supply chains? What happens to economic relationships? And maybe most importantly, what's the right balance between relying on global partners and ensuring we have resilient domestic industries for things that are truly critical?
Definitely a lot to chew on there. A complex balancing act.
It really is. Definitely something worth keeping an eye on going forward.